Welcome back to Trail Trash ADV Garage with Jeff. Again, I don't know if you guys are going to be interested in this project, but I was just doing some filming the day when we got the Goldwing. I did get a test ride on it, but I was able to bleed the front brakes and get them working. Basically, the nipples, the bleeder nipples were corroded, so I used penetrating fluid and some propane heat to loosen them up and get them off, then get them cleaned up, and then back in, and then I had some air trapped in here. So that often happens with these things, is where this is at an angle, you get the air bubbles in here. Now the master cylinder was corroded. I had to rebuild it, but it basically just a clean job. Anyway, I'll get to that in a second. You crack this off just slightly. Make sure you got a rag here so you don't get that mess. Just crack it till you see fluid. Like, keep that compressed, crack it so you get a little fluid, then tighten it right back up immediately before you let go, and it won't suck it back in any air. But I may not keep that master. I don't know. Like, with the new build, it's really kind of a dated look. I may go with a more modern setup on the front. Stay away from really cheap eBay stuff or Amazon stuff, because a lot of times it just doesn't work well. Air gets past the seals and stuff. I haven't had good luck with that stuff. Maybe some good quality stuff. Spend a little more. Maybe from a Z1R Enterprises or Parts and More, pretty good. You can usually get some generic masters or something like that from those guys. So I may swap out these perches at some point with the new handlebars. So I'm gonna wait. If I end up using these, I will do a real rebuild kit, because I'll get that C-clip, which you can use any C-clip as long as it, the right diameter, like from a kit or something, or snap ring. Sorry, internal snap ring. Some people call it C-clips. The thing you can't get is that little rubber cover over the plunger. That's specific to the master, and you might be able to buy those separately on eBay or something like that. But if you buy the rebuild kit, you'll get the rubbers. They're not terribly expensive. So anyway, that's enough. So the front brakes are working good. Now the rear brake was a problem because the bleeder snapped off in the caliper. I had to drill it out, and unfortunately I buggered some of the threads doing it. It's very hard to do. I've only got certain sizes of left-hand thread drill bits, and I didn't film that part. I was getting a little mad, and I was in a hurry because I wanted to get a little test ride in to see if this thing would work. So the rear brake, so it's down there. I think, like, there is some compliance there. What I ended up doing is I had a bleeder from an old Yamaha, and I'm not sure what the thread is on these Hondas. Maybe an M6. The Yamaha bleeder was an M7. Which is a very unusual bolt. You can't walk down your hardware store usually and pick up M7s. My local place that does really good with metric hardware, stainless, they never stock M7s. M6s and M8s, but never M7s. But I actually had a tap for it, so I tapped it out and used the Yamaha bleeder. Now, the Yamaha bleeder, the chamfer on the end of the bleeder did not match the chamfer in the bore. And I couldn't really measure the bore because I can't get down in there, right? It was bad enough just getting all the swath out from the drilling out the old bleeder. So basically what I did was I come over to the belt sander and I just kept trying different chamfers on the bleeder and then screwing it in and reefing on it a little more than I want to see if I could get it to seal. And I did get it to seal, but there's obviously some air in the system, or the rear master is letting, it needs to be rebuilt. It needs to be cleaned up just like I did the front. So I don't know if we'll get around to that today, because the main issue I wanted to get to is getting these fairings off and getting at the carbs, because I've got a high idle. It runs really rough until it warms up, and then when it does warm up, it stays high. So it's revving around 3,000 RPM. It could be because somebody monkeyed with the idle, and that's the way where the idle is. But regardless of that, the carbs do need to come out for a cleaning and inspect the O-rings around the float bowls. It looks like there's some staining on the top of the engine, so I'd say at some point they were leaking. Yeah, so the carbs do need to come out for a good cleaning anyway, so I gotta get to those. Yeah, that was hard. I'm gonna edit that. That was a long time. I don't remember the carbs coming out that hard, but I'll explain to you a little bit what happened there. So your problem are these pipes right here, these coolant pipes, because the carb bottoms, when I hit them, and that finally popped out. These are sealing rings for here. And then your height, like, so you're limited here. And see this ridge right here in the fuel tank? Yeah, it's probably dark. Anyway, that's why they can't come out this way. They have to go out that way. Those O-rings I just picked up usually get crushed and it'll cause a vacuum leak between here, and you see that surface is pretty dirty, so that'll need to be cleaned up. But you see these puddles? Yeah, so that would be gas leaking out, and you can see over here the same thing. So I would say the float needles are not sealing off, and it's just dumping gas. So but that's hopeful that, you know, the bike runs fairly well. Like, not well, but it runs even with the carbs in the shape they're in. There's hope that I can get these carbs back together, and we'll be riding this thing fairly quickly. So this is the case. I need a headlight bucket, but I do have a bucket, and if the headlight off that is the ring and the retainer, I might be able to adapt the two. So we need a headlight, and then obviously we'll need signal lights in the front. We're close to getting this thing running. It's not inspected. Nova Scotia Way need inspections, but yeah, it just ran out in May. We might risk it a little bit. It's all legal. It's insured and all that good stuff. So I don't think I'll tackle these today. I think I'm actually going to get. I'm actually going to go for a ride on the DRZ, and these will be for another day. But I will film the breakdown on these, so we'll do a little video. So just a quick little update for this. The DRZ. There's work I want to get done on that. I just keep putting it off for other projects, and I shouldn't be. I should be getting. I want to put in a charging port on it. We got some cheap Amazon guards for this. We had these power mads on that kind of connect here, but they don't have any backing on them. So we put these ones with the backing. It doesn't have any metal reinforcement. So we put these ones on because we keep banging levers when we go down. So we may end up upgrading those to some Tusk ones. I think Colin said he's going to order some Tusk. But for now, these cheap Amazon ones are going to do the trick. They were on the XT before. They've taken a beating here and there, and they still work. So you know what? For cheap Amazon stuff, they're pretty darn good. Bit of a hard install on the KLX, so just an FYI. There's bungs in here, welded bungs, and they're not threaded. So I had to drill them out and thread them for an M8 1.25. And then we've got a whole video on this. Maybe you've seen it by now, but these are DirtRacks from DirtRacks.ca. It's a Canadian company. What a good piece of kit. I mean, yes, they're not the cleanest bends. They do narrow, the pipe does narrow, so there's just a tiny bit of kinking in that tight 90 degree. The welds, I mean, obviously they're hand welded, as you can see, but the powder coat is nice on it. It's like a wrinkle finish, and they're sturdy, very sturdy. They went together fairly easy. Kind of a neat design with the spacers and everything to make it work. But the best thing about it is, I'll get you out of the sun here. The best thing about it is they're $160 Canadian for that whole rack. It's just, you know, it's a great bargain. I may wind up doing the side crash protection for the DRZ. So that's kind of how they go. They just connect to the frame here. And so they provide some crash protection, but they also have, you know, mounting points. They don't show them there, but I think it shows, no, it doesn't anyway. But you could, you know, you could adapt these to little saddlebags, side saddlebags that aren't too big. The rackless ones could just attach right there. I don't know. I might, because they're only, what, $127 Canadian? DirtRacks.ca. I can't say enough nice about them, really. Again, if you're got a fancy BMW and you don't like the look of the welds or whatever, and you want, you know, your SW Motec or your Givy or whatever you want, great. But if you're on a budget, you can't go wrong with these DirtRacks. Carbs, next video. So I'm going to go ride now. So for Jeff at Trail Trash ADV Garage, I'll catch you on the next video.